Video games provide us with a unique perspective that no other medium can. Through the lens of a protagonist, we're able to shape the course of events that take place in a story. Often we resonate with these heroes we puppeteer thanks to our bond with the experience. In contrast to the bond we build or the rivalries we share along the way. Whether it's a struggle for power on a small scale or as grandiose as world domination, the antagonists that provide us with conflict to struggle against are just as integral to the experience. If heroes in gaming such as Mario, Sonic, or Cloud will be forever etched into our minds, the same could be said for their primary antagonists, Bowser, Dr. Robotnik, and Sephiroth. Of those relationships, perhaps there is none as narratively profound with undeniable staying power over the decades as the conflict between Link and Ganon. To understand the origin of their eternal struggle, we have to go all the way back to the origins of Hyrule. Long before the kingdom was established, the goddess Hylia was embroiled in a war against the demons led by their king, Demise. Demise was sealed away by Hylia, but he eventually was reawakened by his quite fabulously frightening right-hand man, Girahim. That descriptor can be taken literally, as Girahim is the Demon King's sword. Despite the devilish duo's best efforts, they're taken down by a courageous hero, Link. With his dying breath, he exclaims that his hatred will never die. His power will forever be reincarnated to battle with those with the courage of the hero and the wisdom of the goddess. With Demise defeated, the Hylians take the land once wrought with Demise's demons and establish the kingdom of Hyrule. Many ages pass, with the threat of Demise being forgotten over the generations. A pretty important detail to glaze over, to be sure. But then again, how were the citizens of Hyrule to know what depths of evil lay within a boy one day born to the Gerudo tribe? This is no ordinary birth either. The Gerudo are a race of almost entirely females, with a single male born every century. As such, they deem the man Ganondorf Dragmire the rightful heir to their throne. However, the lust for power within him was greater than anyone could have foreseen. Ruling the Gerudo was merely enough to whet his appetite for utter dominance. His true desire was the absolute rule over the entire land of Hyrule. To accomplish his goal, he sought the Triforce, a relic of the goddesses Fei Roar, Din, and Nehru, who created the land. Originally protected by Hylia, the responsibility of the Triforce's safety over time fell to the royal family and the appointed sages. To protect this golden power, the sages locked the Triforce away in the sacred realm, accessible only through the Temple of Time. Though Ganondorf is often regarded for his immense magical and physical power, his ability to manipulate others is one of his strongest talents. With his cunning nature, he infiltrated the ranks of the royal family and gained favor with the king. As he feigned fealty, Ganondorf sought out the spiritual stones of the Kokiri, Gorons, and Zoras. They refused, of course, to which Ganondorf responded by cursing the Deku Tree to death, giving the Zora Lord Jabu Jabu a tummy ache to die for, and leaving a bunch of Dodongos for the Gorons to deal with. Though the king sat idly by, blissfully unaware of Ganondorf's inevitable betrayal, his daughter Zelda, who possessed the wisdom of the goddess, was not so dense. She shared her suspicions with a young fairy boy named Link. They hatched a plan together to stop Ganondorf by grabbing the stones in his stead. Since Link was the kind of dude to scratch other people's backs instead of demanding things, he got all the stones with relative ease. But unfortunately for them, Ganondorf isn't as oblivious as the royal dunce. He stalks Link and hops into the sacred realm, thanking us for being a glorified errand boy while he took over Hyrule Castle. But when he tries to claim the Triforce, it instead splits into 3 pieces, only awarding him the Triforce of Power. Meanwhile, Link took a 7-year nap because his kid body was too pint-sized to wield the Master Sword. With at least one Triforce piece under his control, Ganondorf was content to rule over the land, confident that the other wielders of the Triforce pieces would appear in time. Well, he was right, with Zelda showing up to congratulate Link after he awakens all 7 sages. In their celebration, the all-wise one seems to forget that Ganondorf likes to stalk people that enter the Temple of Time, so she gets captured and it's up to you to save her. That's bait, of course, as Ganondorf realizes that you hold the final Triforce piece and plans to duel you for it. Beating him is an electrifying game of tennis. The sore loser then tries to bring down the castle on you and Zelda. Narrowly escaping, you find that Ganondorf lives on, and boy, he's pissed. Ganondorf goes full hog and turns into a monstrous pig, representative of his glutton for power. But with a little bit of courage, a lot of booty smacking, and some help from Zelda and the sages, the demonic Ganon is sealed within the sacred realm. He shouts it'll one day break free and wreak havoc on your descendants, which is a promise he'll make good on. But that's a story for another day. Ganondorf's arc in Ocarina of Time is a launchpad for many different timeline splits and is key as the birth of the series' main antagonist. The question remaining is, how does his first chronological appearance in the series stand as a boss battle? Really quick beforehand, I'm excited to announce the launch of a merch store for the channel. Through the link at the top of the description, you'll find a t-shirt and hoodie with a sleek title across the chest. I wanted to go with something simple and clean that you'd be happy to wear anytime, and this design nailed it. As part of the launch, you can get 20% off with the code THANKYOU. I'm always grateful for you supporting the channel in any capacity that you can, so thank you for listening. In contrast to Ludwig in a game like Bloodborne that has many different builds, outcomes, and strategies, Zelda often leans more toward a linear path in boss battles. However, what Zelda lacks in build variety, it makes up for in rewarding completionists. How easy or difficult you find Ganondorf will be based largely on how many pieces of heart you've collected, whether you've gotten double magic and half damage from the Great Fairies, and if you're packing the Big Goron Sword. The Big Goron Sword in particular boosts your damage to absurd levels at the cost of being unable to use your shield, but that's hardly needed in this battle. Ganondorf boils down to a game of back and forth energy smacking. Outside of firing magic orbs at you, he only has two other attacks. He'll either smash the ground like he does in the opening, causing more blocks to fall, or he'll summon a dark orb that fires at a few magic rays that aren't that easily deflectable, though all three attacks have a simple way of being handled. For the energy orb, this is your main opportunity to damage him. Smack your sword or oddly an empty bottle at the right time and it'll bounce back. Do it enough times and you'll get a shocking result. Fire a light arrow to knock him down, then jump over to get some slices in. You'll have time to get in 4 hits maximum, with the Big Goron Sword again doing astronomically higher damage than the Master Sword. To avoid falling down from his slams, just stay on the outside of the arena in the corners. And for the Dark Orb, you have 2 options. Either spin attack at the right time to knock them away, or better yet, just fire a light arrow for a normal stun and damage phase. That's really all there is to it. There's some helpful design nuances like Potts having health in the chasm below, getting healed to full before the battle in the cutscene, and his cape tearing gradually to represent his fading health. The only thing against you in this battle is no Navi, meaning no lock-on, but it's not a tall order to stand still and smack at the right time. And if you were a diligent collector, there's hardly a chance Ganondorf will be able to defeat you unless you have the reaction speed of a concussed tortoise. As previously mentioned, once defeated, you'll have 3 minutes to escape the castle to our next battle. Whether or not you consider Ganon to be the tougher of the 2 fights depends on your preparation and strategy. Once again, the Big Goron Sword is a game changer, but it's even more so in this battle because you spend the first half without the Master Sword. If you don't have it, you'll need to use a Megaton Hammer or Hookshot instead, which do far less damage. As for the strategy, there's 3 ways to handle this fight. 1, roll around him and get to his tail, which is his weak point, smack that booty and repeat. 2, roll between his legs, smack that booty, back off and repeat. 3, fire a light arrow at his face, then smack that booty while he's stunned, repeat. Any combination of these 3 methods will get you through phase 1, after which he'll fall down and Zelda will encourage you to grab the Master Sword. Now you'll need to use the Master Sword to win, and strategy 1, rolling around him, no longer works as he gains increased turning speed. But that was the worst strategy of the 3 anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Outside of those caveats, the second phase is much of the same. It's a bit absurd how easy it can be to roll between his legs, which perfectly dodges a swipe from him every time. Then light arrows just slam his face in. You even get lock-on back in this fight, which allows you to quickly zero in on the tail after rolling through. The 2 things Ganon does have going for him in terms of difficulty are longevity and damage. It takes a lot of hits to knock him down, especially without the Big Goron Sword in phase 1. And as far as his hits, he does pack quite a wallop. With both of those mixed together, it increases the likelihood that you'll take damage somewhere over the course of the long battle. But still, when you realize you can set up shop under Ganon's dong, it makes the challenge plummet. And as far as light arrows go, if you run out of magic, you can have Ganon bust through pillars for some drops that keep you stocked. And when we talk about Ganon's attacks, they all involve sword strikes, which don't have a lot of differentiation, especially when you're getting the same forward slash every time you roll between his legs. So the final question to answer is, with all of that combined, what is the final verdict? In terms of difficulty, it can vary based on the level of preparation that I mentioned. If you go in with minimal hearts and equipment, you're gonna have a tougher time than someone else who is on the cusp of completing a 100% playthrough. You could also point toward clunky or age mechanics that add difficulty, but I think this game stands up pretty well today in that regard. With that in mind, I believe that even at your weakest, these fights have simple enough mechanics that they lean more toward a slightly above average level of challenge at their hardest, and fairly easy if you're fully loaded. On the S to F- scale, I'm giving this pair a C- for a difficulty grade. Comparatively, in the community survey, it seems you mostly agree that he's average, with the duo garnering a 5.30 out of 10 for difficulty. Moving on to quality, it's important to emphasize that higher difficulty doesn't necessarily make a boss better. While I would agree that overcoming great challenges leads to a level of euphoria that is desirable when facing bosses, their quality is as much about their significance in the narrative that plays on your emotions, design philosophy, and straight up how much fun you have duking it out with them. Though this pair may not be nearly as challenging as their gaming peers, they are a fantastic climax to arguably the greatest Zelda game. Their design is clear, straightforward, and well polished in its purpose, and playing Smack the Energy Orb and booty is a blast. Even so, I can admit that their simplistic design is as much a weakness as a strength, and the lackluster difficulty does leave you wanting a bit. Rounding it out, I'm gonna go with a final quality grade of a straight B. It would seem that you all agree with my assessment of difficulty not necessarily defining quality, with 18% of voters awarding the quality a perfect 10, compared to only a single vote of 10 for difficulty. Your final score? A very respectable 8.08 out of 10. No matter how these battles stack up today, they are some of the most memorable moments of that era and perhaps even gaming history. Now our final question. Who's next? Coming next time, Knight Artorias from Dark Souls. Cast your vote in the poll in the description, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest content. Check out the merch store too while you're there if you'd like some Democracy swag, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching today, much love to you, and I'll see you in the next video.